If you've ever looked around and wondered, am I becoming invisible? If you've ever questioned whether the market still sees your value, or if you've ever felt like experience somehow became a liability instead of an asset. Well, don't go anywhere, because today I want to talk about having a very real conversation, not just about age, but about relevance, energy, identity, and how we continue evolving in a world that changes incredibly fast. I'm Penelope Bent, and this is Build It, Baby, the show for dreamers who are doers, builders who are becoming, and people who refuse to disappear quietly into the background. And today, we're talking about ageism, but probably not in the way you expect. I'm ready. Let's do it. This is Build It, Baby, the show for big ideas, brave pivots, and bold next chapters. So let's do it. Let's build it, baby. Okay, so here's a question that I have for you. Have you ever walked away from an opportunity wondering, was it my age or was it something else? Now, before we jump in, let me say something very clearly. I absolutely do believe ageism exists. I have worked in recruiting for years. I've watched incredible professionals be overlooked. I've seen assumptions made. I've seen companies chase youth instead of wisdom. And I have seen experienced professionals quietly pushed to the side. So yeah, I get it. I mean, I know it's out there. But after years of interviewing candidates, building teams, consulting with companies, and watching people navigate the hiring process, I also believe there's another conversation we're not having, one that I feel is a very honest look at this topic, ageism. And that conversation is this. I believe that sometimes what people experience is not simply age, it's not age related. I believe sometimes it is a disconnection. Sometimes it perhaps is presentation. Sometimes it may be a communication style. Sometimes it's rigidity. Sometimes it's energy. And sometimes, believe it or not, it is resistance to evolving. And sometimes people stop participating in the modern world long before they stop breathing in it. So I think that's the real conversation around ageism. And I know that may sound uncomfortable to many. But truly, Build It, Baby has never really been about comfort. It's been about truth, awareness, and building intentionally. I think we can all agree the marketplace has changed. I mean, that's real obvious. Just take a look at the last couple of years. The marketplace today moves incredibly fast. I mentioned that before. Technology changes fast. Communication changes fast. Culture is changing at an amazing rate of speed. Branding has changed. And leadership expectations change just as fast. And whether we like it or not, people are constantly evaluating. They're constantly evaluating presence, adaptability, confidence, communication, energy, relevance, and emotional intelligence. Not just skill sets. Companies today are not only hiring resumes, they are hiring how does this person show up. And here's where this gets really important. I have interviewed people in their 60s who absolutely light up the room. They're curious, they're engaged, they're sharp as hell, they're present, they're collaborative, and they're excited about learning. And honestly, I've also interviewed people in their 30s who already felt checked out of life. They're tired, they're rigid, they're disconnected, incredibly negative, and they're defeated before the conversation ever began. So no, I don't believe this ageism is really only about age. This is about whether you are still engaged with becoming. Because people will feel this. They'll feel your energy. They'll feel your thoughts about becoming, about expanding your life. And I completely get it, because I think many people become exhausted for very understandable reasons. You know, life happens. Shit happens, man. Layoffs happen. Loss happens. Burnout happens. Health cares happen. Financial pressures happen. Divorce happens. Now, caregiving happens. Disappointment happens. I get it. People get hurt. And after enough rejection, many people unconsciously begin shrinking themselves. They retreat. They pull in, like a turtle, all their little feet, and they, get cozy underneath this shell. And you know what happens? Their confidence changes. And honestly, their posture changes. I cannot tell you how often I have watched posture in an interview. And any, new candidate, or I work with a lot of young people just out of college, and I'll always say to them, when you are in your interview process, make sure you lean toward the camera on your Zoom call. Leaning back is a posture of disconnect. It's a posture of, whatever. So I think unconsciously their communication changes because their energy changes. And eventually they begin presenting themselves to the world as if they're already lost, as if they've already lost. And truly, to me, it's heartbreaking. And sometimes I can literally see the pain in the faces of those that I have interviewed. But it is also important to recognize this in yourself. Because once you recognize it, you can rebuild it. You can put the energy back in to your mind, to your body, to your thoughts. And I believe the first step is to understand the difference between experience and stagnation. Experience is valuable, deeply valuable. But all the experience in the world doesn't matter if experience and stagnation are clearly, if you don't understand, they're not the same thing. Experience says, I've learned. And get this, you don't want to know what stagnation says? I already know. Experience says, I'm still curious. Stagnation says, the world should adjust to me. And not too long ago, I read an article regarding someone was asked, I think with the up and coming 4th of July celebrations, they were asked something about what they thought about a previous individual in history, or a particular experience during a particular wartime. And it was stunning to me, because their answer was, I don't know, that happened way before I was born. Think about that for a minute. So I already know, because I don't need to know anything else. I just only need to know what's happened since I was born. Yeah, I get it. The world should adjust to you. Well, let me tell you something. Experience evolves. It helps an individual evolve. Stagnation hardens. And the truth is, companies today are looking for people who can move. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, culturally, strategically. What was that really old comment? Go with the flow. Well, if you're creating such a rigid, stagnated personality or being that you can choose. You want to be excited about what you're doing and what you're going after, or are you set in your ways with very little experience underneath your belt? Companies are looking for people who can continue to adapt. And I think this is where relevance lives. This isn't about pretending to be young. And let me say this very clearly. I'm not suggesting people should pretend to be 25 forever. Oh, hell no. I'm glad I'm not 25 again. I did that. It was fun. But, that's not who I am today. Pretending to be 25 forever, that's not the goal. The goal is not artificial youth. The goal is aliveness, being excited about life. There's a huge difference. And some of the most magnetic people in the world are older. Why is that? Because you know what? They are really fully alive. They are still dancing at the party. They are engaged. They are interested. They are creative. They are connected. They are curious. And you know what? They are open and they are present. Why? Because they are still building. And honestly, that energy is powerful at any age. And yes, don't scream at me, but personal branding really does matter. I've said it before, so I think you're going to go, oh my God, you're saying that again. I actually believe it is one of the most important aspects of today's marketplace, and it's more important than ever before. What are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing beside your resume? And I know it's an uncomfortable truth, but communication matters. And I know some people hate hearing that, but it's true. The way you communicate online matters. The way you introduce yourself matters. The way you carry yourself matters. The way you speak about change matters. The way you make eye contact matters. I had an interesting phone call from a dear friend the other day. I'm, close to the family and have been, there with all of the children. She has 3 amazing children that are now all young adults. And one of the children just graduated from college and is out there in the marketplace for the first time looking for, her first position. And she's very creative, a brilliant young woman. And she's, been enjoying a bit of the visual flavor of piercings and tattoos and all those creative expressions that, many have. And so when I was chatting with my friend, she said, what are your thoughts about all the piercings and so on during her first interview process? Is that something that maybe is worth chatting about? And I think my answer to that question is that I don't think we want to change who we are. If I was the one graduating from college and going into my first interview, I know my first instinct would be, well, you know what, this is me. But I do believe that it really is dependent upon the type of company you're interviewing with. If you're interviewing in the advertising marketing industry, which is incredibly creative, then, knock yourself out. Pierce it up, babe. But I believe that on the same side of it, if this is more of a conservative type of business, perhaps depending upon the position, let's say it's a sales position in technology, I think a little bit goes a long ways. Does that mean that I'm suggesting that the young woman change her belief? No, I'm just suggesting that you want to present, teach to the test. Present yourself in alignment with the company's cultural views and do your due diligence, do some investigation. How are the other members of the sales team presenting themselves? Hey, for better or for worse. I mean, if you want the job, then there's certain significant restrictions or ideas or suggestions that the leadership may have regarding how much of the creative side of you they wish for you to share with their clients. So the way that you communicate, it does matter today. Because people, they are making decisions very quickly, very, very quickly. And I don't believe that means becoming fake. I think it means becoming intentional. And there's a huge difference there. If your intention is to land the position, then do your research and present a package that is in alignment with the position and the company's cultural narrative. And I think many professionals, especially experienced professionals, underestimate how important perception has become in today's marketplace. Not because substance doesn't matter, but because presentation is often the doorway through which people experience and discover your substance. Now, let me repeat that. Presentation, the way you present your product, that's the doorway. That's you opening the door to yourself. And then when they walk through it, that's when they discover your substance, your brilliance, your intellect, your knowledge. So it is the doorway through which they walk and experience all of you. And I know I've said this before, your energy speaks first. When that Zoom call goes on and they see this glowing, excited individual with this great smile on their face, I truly believe that energy will speak before your words do, before your resume does, before the credentials ever say anything, and before they find out about your amazing accomplishments. Why? Because people feel enthusiasm. They also feel resentment. They feel openness, but they also feel defensiveness. They feel possibilities. And yeah, they feel bitterness. They feel confidence. And they also feel fear. They feel it. And one thing I've observed over and over again is this. The market does not respond to age nearly as strongly as it responds to perceived disengagement. That really is the deeper issue. When someone appears disconnected from growth and learning and curiosity and technology and communication or possibilities, the market often pulls away. And it sure as hell isn't because of their age. It's because they no longer appear connected to forward movement. They're no longer connected to what can be, to the growth of the new day. And I have a really interesting story. This just recently happened to me. So I was working with a hiring manager, and it was a female. She was in her, I'd say, mid 60s. And she was hiring for a sales team. And I was involved in the growth of that build. And although age is not supposed to be a conversation that anyone is to really have about who they would choose to hire, the comment just kind of jumped out at, I need a hunter. I need somebody that's going to really bust their ass and hit the white space and hit the pavement running. I need them to find the clients. We don't have a strong list of clients in this particular area that we're looking to sell our product. So, man, I really need a hunter. I need someone with a lot of energy. I need somebody, in their 30s. I got plenty of people in their 50s, but I need those real energetic ones in their 30s. Well, it was everything for me not to just, my mouth was dropping. So what I got it. I heard what she was saying, and I knew that was, my marching orders to try to, in my mind, look for a hunter. I kind of dismissed the whole idea of the age piece, the 30. Because I'll tell you something that's very, very interesting. And what I want to say to all of those hiring managers out there that may be in their late 50s or early 60s, you might want to take a really big look at what the energy level is of many of our 30-year-olds today. Now, I'm not suggesting that every 30-year-old is, kicking back at the PAD and on mom's couch. But I do believe that a lot of 30-year-olds today have given up the American dream or given up the dream and are not looking at possibilities. And if you really think that every 30-year-old out there is going to be a hunter, I think to decide who's a hunter and who is not by age today is ludicrous, because age has nothing to do with your work ethic. Work ethic has to do with the individual. And that's where I think there is a gigantic mistake. It used to be, well, I don't want to look at somebody that's just ready to hang their hat. They're getting ready close to retirement. They're in their early 60s, and they're just looking for the last roundup to get their health insurance until they retire. I think that is a complete misconception today. I don't think that age should be a part of the discussion when you're looking for certain traits in the individual, because I've seen some of the hardest workers I've ever worked with that will work way beyond an 8-hour shift because they want they want the more lifestyle and work balance to get the job done when you're at the end of quarter and you need to close. So I think taking age out of the equation is very, very smart for leadership today. Don't always believe that, the young is energetic and the old is ready to hang their hat. I think that's a really gigantic misconception. And I think the real bottom line is that this new normal is happening regardless of age. Disconnected, lethargic stagnation, it's an epidemic, but it is not age specific. And honestly, this is one of the reasons I believe so strongly in building something of your own. Why? Because whether it's a business, a consulting practice, a side hustle, a creative project, a personal brand, a second chapter, because I really do believe that ownership changes your relationship with relevance. When you are building, you stay engaged because it's yours. You stay curious. You stay connected to the movement. You stay in the game. So I think for all of those that are feeling lethargic out there, regardless of age, consider shifting gears, creating something maybe small, but something that you can get back in the game with, that can make you feel excited when you wake up in the morning. And I think this is why so many people today are reconsidering what my current job funnel looks like, or what retirement even means. I read an article the other day that, get this, 74% of the people that are getting ready to retire, and that could be 62 years of age or 65 years of age, they believe that they're going to continue working after retirement. Well, that may be your desire, but the way a lot of senior employees are being laid off, you might want to consider that if you need to bring in additional income outside of your retirement account, which is a huge possibility, you may consider building something of your own. Doesn't have to be big, like I said, but making sure that you do have that additional revenue stream and not counting on the marketplace to give it to you. I think that is a huge mistake. And I also think that staying curious and staying connected, you are staying in the game. And I think this is why so many people today are reconsidering. What does my future look like? Many people don't want to disappear. They still want to have purpose, contribution, connection, meaning. I mean, you look at some of the people today. I mean, this whole age thing is amazing to me because it's irrelevant. People are healthy. People in their 70s are building, they're creating, they're alive, they're still listening to music, they still can hear the music. And frankly, I think it's the only way to live. I think staying in the game, having purpose, whatever that may be, and finding your meaning is one of the most important aspects of the life that you are building. So here's the part where I tell you exactly what I know. These are my knowings, the things I no longer question because they've shown themselves to me again and again. Not from a book, but from building, getting knocked down, getting back up, and doing this work in the real world. Okay, so here are my knowings. I know that people do not become irrelevant because of age. Number 2, I know that many people become invisible because they slowly disconnect from growth. Number 3, I know that curiosity is more powerful than youth. Number 4, I know that energy changes opportunities. Number 5, I know that bitterness quietly repels possibilities. And number 6, I know that people who continue building continue evolving. And this last one, I know this with all of my being. The people who stay alive internally will remain powerful externally for a very, very long time. Those are my knowings. Okay, this is my favorite time. It's time for listener question. And this is from Stan, who lives in Arizona. Oh, great place, Stan. So Stan's question is, how do I balance launching a business with working a full-time job? Well, great question, Stan. I can only imagine what your thoughts are right now. First of all, I would like to share that I am very excited that you are considering launching a business, as well as I think you're in a perfect position to do that because you do have a full-time job, and that allows you to have some consistent income. So you're not having to try to, build a business and worry about, where the house payment is going to come from. So actually, I think to begin with, you're in a great position. So the real question is, how do you manage that position at this time? I don't know what your family situation is, so I don't know what the responsibilities are there. But here's what I can tell you about building. And I've used the same theory, whether I've been, working with my success strategy clients or when I was teaching freelance, models how to create freelance businesses. I think the most important piece is to establish very clearly how many hours you're going to focus on building the business. Now, I don't mean that when you're, kicking back watching the football game that you may have your journal right there or notebook where ideas will come up and you write them down. I do that all the time in the middle of a build. I've kind of got this little book that, I have with me, and maybe I'll watch a commercial and something will be said and I'll write something about that came to my mind that I would think would be great for Build It Baby. What I would suggest is that you find 6 hours every week. Now that's 3 days a week, and it's only 2 hours consistently for 3 days. Now, I always suggest that those days are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the middle of the week. Because when you're working a full-time job or just life in general, Mondays are tough. You're getting reorganized. Usually you've got a lot of meetings with your job. They're kind of planning how the week's going to unfold. You got to get your list of tasks and so on and so forth from your job or from the family. And then Fridays is not a great day to be off course. You want to make sure that you're wrapping everything up from the week, that all your notes need to get to your managers or whatever in your job. So I believe that Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are the best days to put 2 hours aside. I'm a big morning person, so I can't imagine building your business after you've worked 8 or 9 hours at your full-time job. So I always say, if that means that you start work at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. in the morning, then set your alarm a couple 3 days a week for 4:30 or 5 when it's quiet, when the family's quiet, or when the world out there is quiet, and just take 2 complete hours, and you can put it on your phone so you know that you're giving it the 2 hours. I mean, it'll go by really fast, but focus on what it is that you need to deal with that day in building the business. Making the list of, okay, this week I need to reach out to so-and-so, and then you'll move that to what needs to happen on Tuesday. If you find that you need to reach out during business hours, then maybe on your Wednesday 2 hours, you'll get organized for an hour in the morning, and then maybe during your lunch, you'll do some reach out, or maybe you'll take a break from the regular, the full-time job between 4 and 5, or maybe you can schedule a couple other calls in there on your breaks, or whatever the case may be. But I think you can really easily, clearly build a business with 6 hours a week. And then on the weekend, that can kind of be your creative time. I've said this before. On Sunday night, I look at my organizer and I plan what that week, what are the things that I want to take care of within those hours that I'm going to be working on building the company next week. So while I'm kind of got my feet up and sitting back, I'll make some notes as to what I want next week to look like. I usually do that on Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening. I think it's really important to have the downtime. I really avoid working at all costs on Saturday because most of my career, I only got Monday off. We had clothing stores and everything else going on, and we were always open Tuesday through Sunday. So I love Saturday mornings, and I like the way they smell. I like the sound of the lawnmowers out there. I just like those. And I think those are wonderful days after you've worked all week, whether in the business or with your full-time job, to kind of have your family time and let that weave into Sunday. And then Sunday evening, you kind of make your list. And then by Monday, if you need to add a few things, great. But by Tuesday, you've got your few things that you want to take care of in that 2 hours. And if it goes over, terrific. Fill in what needs to be done. I also think that another piece that I think is so important to all of this is really don't get intense about it. Building takes a while. You've got that income coming in. You don't need to make this happen before Christmas time, unless that's a good time to open up. Maybe it's a retail store or whatever. But I think if you just focus on those couple hours there a week, those 6 hours a week, and put in the private time, the balance time, the fun time to have with you and your family or your friends out, on Saturday night or whatever the case may be. Because I believe that the happier you are and the more excited you are and the more fulfilled you are about the life that you are building, because you are doing that. You are building an incredible life for yourself. The business is just one small aspect of it. So don't overlook the other parts of your life that you need to build simultaneously with this new business idea that you have. And hey, thanks, Stan, for asking the question. I wish you all the luck in the world. If you need any more additional help, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can go right to my website at penelopebent.com, schedule a quick 30-minute complimentary chat, and we'll talk about what the next piece looks like. So again, thank you so much for the question. Great question. And I wish you best of luck on building that business. Well, I want to leave you with this. Your age is not your story. Your experience matters, your wisdom matters, your voice matters. But the question becomes, are you still willing to evolve? Are you still willing to participate? Are you still willing to build? Because if the answer is yes, then honestly, you may be just getting started. And maybe that's the real conversation we should be having. Until next time, build bold, live bold, and never let the world convince you that your best years are unattainable or are behind you. It's simple. Just build it, baby. Always best be. Build It Baby is a Rainy Day Production House original, hosted by Penelope Bent and produced and edited by Morgan Clymer. Music by Yuri Shemshashin and Oleksiy Holobiev. If this episode spoke to you, please follow the show and leave a review. It helps more dreamers like you find us. And remember, you're not just building a bold business or a career, you're building a bold life.